I just found out I'm pregnant, like 8 months pregnant at this point, and my fiancé and I have decided to pursue adoption, but we only told the people closest to us and 2 members of my family because the rest are very religious and judgmental. Posted by you/totallydiagnosingyou. I, 40F, just recently found out that I am pregnant. Like, 8 months pregnant at this point. My fiancé, 40M, and I were never planning on having children. I have never wanted kids of my own and have always been upfront about this with my family and friends. Due to a series of bizarre medical events, I ended up pregnant despite long-term use of very effective, for me, birth control. I didn't know because a medication masked basically all the symptoms of early pregnancy. It was a fluke that I found out at 28 weeks, and it wasn't a happy surprise. I spent several days in complete hysterics. Now, a month later, I have come to terms for the most part. At this point, there's nothing to do but finish this strange, unplanned journey. My fiancé and I have decided to pursue adoption through a very good agency. We're doing all the right things for the baby medically, and we think we're doing the right thing with the adoption as well. We believe that kids deserve a family who is excited for them and delighted by them, and we can't give this child that experience. Here's where we may be jerks. We have told only the people closest to us about the pregnancy and our plans. This includes our closest friends and confidants, but only includes 2 members of my family, namely 2 that I thought would support us without pressuring us to do anything aside from what we've chosen. We're both close to my family as a whole, but they can be pushy. The other members of my extended family are very religious and honestly pretty judgmental. I think they would probably mean well but would actually end up stressing both myself and my fiancé out during a time that's already stressful. Of course, this means shutting them out of everything. No part in the birth, no information about the adoption, nothing. I know this would hurt them if they knew, but I think protecting my peace is priority right now. Edit to answer some common questions. My fiancé and I are seeing and will continue to see a counselor to help us navigate this process and make the best decisions for ourselves and the baby. No, we are not going to let anyone in our family adopt our child. I don't think that would be the best decision for anyone for many reasons. I didn't ask if I was the jerk for choosing adoption, and I'm not interested in opinions on this. It isn't an easy decision, but it's the one we've come to. Please stick to the topic. We are not planning to keep this a secret from these parts of our families forever. We as a couple who is going through an extremely stressful time want time to get through the last few weeks of my pregnancy, the birth, and the postpartum processing that we need. We're super aware of DNA testing and how secrets work, in that they don't. Once we have some room to breathe, we'll sit everyone down and explain our decisions. But months 8 to 9 of a high-risk pregnancy isn't the time to have my very religious family members breathing down my neck. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. How did you feel when you found out about your pregnancy late, and what symptoms did you miss? Ops response, oh my goodness. I lost my mind finding out at 28 weeks, and I only found out because I was having Braxton Hicks, without knowing what it was, and went for a CT to rule out a kidney stone. I can't imagine only having 11 days to process. I'm due in December, and even that seems ridiculously soon, especially with all the high-risk stuff because 40 is a geriatric pregnancy. Luckily there don't seem to be any genetic issues. Commenter 2. If you are arranging an adoption without any further contact for you with the baby, then there is no point telling family. This is a least said, soonest mended situation. Ops response, we're still making those decisions. If we do have contact, we will sit down both of our extended families and tell them. Commenter 3, are you getting counseling in order to help with processing the life situation, especially with your pregnancy and telling the families? Ops response, we're definitely doing counseling with the agency and will continue after the birth and adoption. And we've discussed the eventual need to have the conversation with the family. Right now is just not the time. The 2 family members who do know understand the reasons we're keeping it quiet and won't tell anyone until we're ready, whenever that is. Commenter 4, how did your birth control fail, and how did you end up getting pregnant? Ops response, I started taking Mounjaro for diabetes. Prior to this, I had been told at like age 15 that I have severe PCOS and would have a really hard time conceiving. Even so, I started the Depo-Provera shot and have taken it religiously for years and years because I didn't want to risk it. But GLP-1 drugs lower insulin resistance and the efficacy of birth control. None of my doctors warned me, and since I never missed a shot, none of them did a pregnancy test. And I don't menstruate because of the Depo, so I wasn't concerned. I was also actively losing weight until this month because of the Mounjaro. Pregnancy literally never crossed my mind. Yeah, my endocrinologist told me after I found out I was 28 weeks pregnant, oh yeah, GLP-1 babies are a whole thing. No one mentioned that my hormonal birth control would basically become useless or that I would suddenly become more fertile because my insulin resistance and weight would drop. Commenter 5, it isn't so much that I think I wouldn't be a good parent. I adopted my stepson when he was 8 and did an okay job if I say so myself. There's just a lot in my life right now that isn't compatible with a baby. I have a hectic and demanding job, and our financial situation would be heavily strained. I have a lovely family that would try to support me in the best way they could but probably would not be able to actually help much. And while I had a good childhood, I'm rather like my own mother and would probably provide a chaotic childhood for my daughter, which wouldn't be ideal. I know, and I had one. Weird, messy, still full of love, but not what I want for my baby. I'm sorry for the experience you had. Maybe one day your daughter will come around. Until then, I see you doing your best, and I admire how hard you tried. Commenter 6. Will you share the necessary medical information in case if you and your fiancé decide to go through with the adoption for the child? Ops response: We've definitely provided as much family medical information as possible to the agency and agreed that it all can be shared. We're still deciding on how much we're okay with being involved with the adoptive family, but we definitely don't want to make things harder for them by withholding anything important. Commenter 7. My fiancé is also adopted. And I'm a professional therapist who works with kids who have experienced all manner of traumas. There are definitely ways to handle adoption that are healthy for the child, and the agency we're working with specializes in that. We wanted you to have a life that we couldn't give you definitely isn't the same as you, a baby would cramp my style. Our agency's been really great about explaining all our options for involvement and contact with a baby and the adoptive family, and we're still sorting it out, but we're open to it. Commenter 8. What are the plans after the birth? Ops response: A vasectomy is definitely in the plan, as is tubal ligation for me. Hormonal birth control is definitely not enough. I would not keep this for my or his parents. His have been told, and unfortunately my mom passed when I was in my early 20s. We're not telling members of our extended family yet because we don't want the stress or drama right now. Commenter 9. Why do you not want the baby to be adopted into the family? Ops response: I love my family, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they would raise a daughter in a way I would agree with. I'm with you there, totally. Religious beliefs, being super conservative in ways I wouldn't be able to stomach, nope. Absolutely not. The agency that we're working with gives basically all the control to us as the birth parents. We get full and extensive profiles of potential families, and we can interview them. We decide how involved they are before and during birth and while we're at the hospital. We decide how much contact with the child and the adoptive family we have after the papers are signed. That's why we've chosen this agency in particular, so we can try to do the absolute best we can for our baby. Commenter 10. Is your fiancé being supportive? Ops response: To be honest, if we weren't on the same page, we wouldn't be partners anymore. He has been super supportive and very attentive though. Doesn't miss a single appointment even though there are so many, talks about everything with me even though it's hard for him, caters to me at home while the third trimester is kicking my butt. I'm very, very fortunate to have him. Update: 3 weeks later. Hello everyone, I recently posted about my 40F, unplanned pregnancy and how I didn't want to tell certain members of my family because we, myself and my 40M fiancé, had decided to pursue an adoption. Due to medical complications, our baby ended up being born at 35 weeks. Luckily we were able to get to the amazing hospital with the specialists that we needed prior to her delivery. We had a little girl, and from the time they laid her on my chest in the delivery room, I knew I was in trouble. So after a lot of talking between my fiancé and myself, we've decided not to go through with the adoption and instead to keep our baby. We're a stable couple with good jobs, reliable housing, and a great support system, so we're equipped to do this. And yes, I've finished notifying all my family members. They all took it very well, considering the circumstances. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Congratulations on your baby. I'm glad you three have a good support system to help you. Ops response: We're very, very blessed. Thank you so much. Commenter 2. NTA. This was a private matter in your own relationship. Nobody had to know if you didn't wish so. I'm glad everyone took it well. Ops response: We intended to tell them after the fact but were really too stressed to deal with it at the time. Now we just get to tell them happy news, so I think it's much more palatable. Commenter 3. That's an awesome update. My dad and 2 out of 3 of my grandkids are adopted, so I'm all about that, but it is so much better if a baby can stay with their bio parents if they can and are able to love and provide for them. Congratulations. Ops response: My fiancé was himself adopted by a wonderful family, and he had a great upbringing as a result. So it wasn't like a terrible option, but now it just isn't something we can do. Thank you for your well wishes. Commenter 4. Do you feel like you were a jerk? Ops response: A fair number of people on Reddit did. My aunt definitely had some issues with being the last to know, and a couple of other family members let me know that they didn't think delaying telling certain people was a good idea. Commenter 5. What were your thoughts when you were considering the adoption before the birth? Ops response: Yeah, When I found out I was pregnant at 28 weeks, I also found out I had zero options. I was panicked and emotionally overwhelmed, and also feeling horrible physically. I wasn't okay, and if I had stayed that way, I think adoption would have been the right choice for the baby. But I got a lot better as I had some time to work through things. And now when I look at her, I just feel so much love. How can I give up something so precious? My age was a factor, and that I never wanted kids of my own. The way I found out was also pretty traumatic, as I felt like I was trapped with no options. The circumstances were just bad. I spent a lot of time with it, of course, and I calmed down and thought a lot. Commenter 6, who did you tell about the baby, and what boundaries did you set? Ops response, at this point, I've told all my family members, and we've announced to friends. We do have some people weirdly popping up who aren't going to be allowed access to us or our baby. They're classic narcissists, so that's a hard no.